This is Jeff Glucker. I'm a senior editor at Motor1 and the co-founder and head guy at Hooniverse.com.
Yeah. Uh, if you know.
I don't like the term head guy, actually.
No. Is that like is that on the business card?
No.
That's probably a bad double entendre.
Yeah. No. Oh, well.
So you went for Motor1 to the Audi F1 reveal?
Yes. Yep. Flew all the way to Berlin, which is, it's a quick trip for a long way to go, but it was cool to see. And I'm not the biggest F1 fan, at least of modern F1, but I'm very curious about the 2026 season. And I'm very curious, even more curious to see how Audi's going to do in the sport.
Do you follow F1?
I follow it lightly. I fully understand what's going on. Uh,
Right.
I know the 2026 regulations, I know the changes, but I've lost interest in the last few years because it's one team dominates and then they change something silly and then another team dominates, or it's just Max. And I know the end of this past season got exciting,
Yeah.
but there are other forms of motorsport I find far more exciting. Like I know this is a good way to kick off talking about F1, but I was
All
at
right.
the 24 hours of Daytona, and endurance
Yeah.
racing is just to me amazing. And even crazier, I love V8 supercars down in Australia. I love Baja off-road trophy truck stuff. There's like 5 to 6 other forms of motorsport I'd rather watch before we get to F1.
Yeah. Well, it's to me, it's like two different things, right? Covering the Audi beat for so many years, fully in on 24-hour racing or endurance racing, right?
Mhm.
And the multi-class, I think, just makes it interesting with all the passing
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
navigating all that. Yeah, that was interesting at Daytona. Just kind of watching in the last hour the
Mhm.
what was it the caddy
Yep.
and I forget which Porsche driver was in the lead 960.
Felipe Nasser. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Nasser. That's right. And Nasser's working of that traffic was and his consistency probably saved in the race.
Yeah, and I think there was an issue too. They were worried the caddy pulled one move and it was a sick move, but it wasn't enough. Nasser easily blocked it. It wasn't even much of a block. He just kind of came down on the racing line, really. And then the caddy never came back, even though it looked like it got close a couple times.
Yeah.
Nasser just worked that traffic perfectly. Yeah, it was the Cadillac did charge hard though, but still
Yeah.
it was I mean 24 hours and the race still comes down to so much, and almost
That
everybody was on the lead lap except that that lame ass Aston Martin, which stinks to say.
right. Well, it's also like that's the crazy thing with 24-hour racing now too, is it's almost like a 24-hour sprint. It's not like the old days or maybe an LMP2 still where it's kind of who just survives the 24 hours and you can still podium.
Yeah, LMP2 especially.
Right.
Oh my
That's
God.
more old school 24 hour. Yeah, for me, the other side of it is like you were working the race, and I assume you've been to Le Mans. I think I've hung with you in Le Mans.
No, not Le Mans. I haven't
No,
done
no,
Le Mans.
no.
I've only done Nürburgring, and this was my first Daytona.
Okay, never done Nürburgring. But what I love about the 24-hour races is it's just or less, 6 or 12 will do it too. But
Yeah.
like it gives you time to get out on track and get whatever photography you need or just get whatever vibes you want and then come back and hang out in hospitality and like just get the whole scene where
Mhm.
like it just I have not attended an F1 race yet. I guess I will this season. I'm planning on going to Canada, but man, it seems like it's over like that
Yeah.
and nah.
Yeah, but to back up to be kind to F1, I am like I said, I am excited to see what 2026 brings as far as how the rule changes affect all these different teams, and then just seeing the four rings on an F1 car was pretty
Right.
cool. It's pretty cool to see that. The livery
Yeah.
was simple. People were worried they were going to overdo it. I hope it stays that way because it could still change. But yeah, it looks great.
You mean the livery, so the simplicity of the livery,
Yeah, of the Audi car.
the cleanness of it.
The cleanness, yeah. Just the subtle touch of the sponsor logos, the four rings up on the the post behind the driver's head.
Right.
And then the colors, the familiar colors, of course. All that it looked good in person. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious what the rules may be against it now. I think I caught somewhere, but they do those like race specific liveries, like
Yeah.
Miami or
Yep.
whatever. Maybe they'll change it up a little bit. Who knows? But
Yeah, I think everybody agreed that though that everybody liked the simplicity of it, but yeah, it would also still be fun to see some cool stuff pop out.
yeah, or other experimentations, whatever. But I legit think I read one of the rules for the 2026 rule book is you can only change the livery so much off of the
Oh,
normal, which almost seems like
yeah. I
who
mean, I
cares?
guess maybe they want you to be like, oh, that's that car, so you always know which car it is, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, it's not like there's like 100 cars out there.
Yeah.
But the event itself was wild. I've never attended an F1 livery launch or car launch rather, and I posted a video where half jokingly where I was like, I don't know if I've just entered the John Wick cinematic universe or the Blade universe because the building was insane. The event, the vibes of the event were wild.
Right. So Kraftwerk Berlin didn't they film a John Wick movie there?
I don't know. I wanted to look into it more because it definitely felt like the one where he takes out that heavier dude in the fourth one. Is the fourth one? Yeah. That rave scene, that's what this building felt like.
Yeah.
And there was like thrumming Hans Zimmer type music, blacked out but big red lights, and then someone started singing next to me, and then this dude over here started rapping, and then this group over here started dancing, and it was crazy. But the
You,
whole team
you,
was there, so.
you and Danke, by the way, I was watching the live stream. You and Danke are in the live stream. I don't know if you caught
Oh,
that.
really? No, that's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, because I kind of snuck off to the side at one point. Well, I was also that makes sense because when the lady was singing, I was standing right next to her, so I might have been in that. I got to go watch that then. That's really funny. But they gave us good access earlier in the day before the actual party happened because we saw the car earlier in
Okay.
the day. Then we went back to the hotel to change for the party of it all. But earlier in the day, I got sat next to Jonathan Wheatley for a little bit. I sat next to Nico Hulkenberg for a little bit, and yeah, you had decent access to these people, but it was also crowded because it was global media. So,
It's a bit of a scrum.
yes, they did these small round tables, and Wheatley was great because I think he's the perfect person for this team. Decades of F1 experience, including winning and running
Right.
successfully, and really piloting this team should be interesting, especially with the kind of co-leading it with Matthias Binotto. And then it'll be interesting to see how the drivers do too, because you have a journeyman in Nico Hulkenberg, and then you have this young kid who's, what can he do? Nobody really knows yet, based on his first season. But it'll be very interesting. But the other thing I think about too is if the car does do well, and Nico is responsible for that, like, just the hero's journey this guy would have driving
Right.
for a German works team, because full works team, which is amazing. German driver, Adidas spot, like they're full kitted in Adidas. Like this dude would. Oh, I think Paulaner beer, the double
Yeah.
zero non-alcoholic beer, like all
Was he
these
drinking one of
things.
those too?
Yeah. So
Does it get more German than
right.
Nico?
Yeah.
That's funny. He actually won. The one year I was at Le Mans, he raced and won for back during like the 919 era
Oh yeah, yeah. 2015.
when Weber was there. He was in the white. Nico was in the white car, and they actually like surprise won. I think everybody was expecting Weber to be the dominant player.
Yeah, and I think that was the only time he's like done endurance racing and he won it. So,
Yeah, and it's also the team and the
well, yeah, Porsche 919 is ridiculous. So, yeah.
right.
Um, but it'll be interesting to see. I was there with another journalist who very much is far more involved in covering motorsport than I am, which is not really at all.
Right.
But I'm also not, blind to it. He asked a great question about the expectations because Audi says they want to do this and their goal is to win a championship by 2030,
Right.
which is to some doesn't sound that far off, but to others that's crazy ambitious to pull that off. But they made a great point that when Audi puts their focus on a type of motorsport, they usually come in and kick crazy ass. And the great example of that is when they went endurance racing, the amount of
Right.
wins they had in the short amount of time that they actually competed uh,
Yeah.
is fascinating.
It is. I mean, I can nerd on this all day if I don't bore you. But like, part of it is the R8 is the most dominant. The LMP
Yeah,
R8 is the most dominant Le Mans car ever. So more than the 917, because I don't think the 917 was used that much. It's the icon, but the R8 was the one that just won year after year after year.
yeah,
But the other side of it is I'm hoping for the best from them, but I guess the naysaying I would do would be a lot of the years Audi was dominant because it nails how many they have 14 wins. I'm trying to remember offhand at Le Mans. They have like the second most. They beat Ferraris. They overran Ferrari pretty quickly. Never quite got to Porsche in record numbers.
mhm,
Ferrari now is kind of coming back, right? But Audi's their years there were like they don't really have a strong car, but 99 there's literally everybody there. Porsche, Mercedes,
right,
Toyota, like it's stacked. And then most of the rest of the R8 LMP1 era is like Pescarolo or like they're not really up against serious heavy hitter brands. And then once they do start to get real competition from Toyota and Porsche, I mean, they had it from Peugeot too, and Peugeot really gave them a good run. They only
mhm,
lost to them once, but like,
right,
I do wonder that. Plus, I want to, obviously I'm hopeful, but like the Piech era is over. Like Piech from like, if you look when Audi dominated, well, there was like Audi in pre-war. I guess they got a championship right with Porsche stuff, but right.
yeah,
But moving into the modern era, from rally to Trans Am to all of that, Piech is there really with like the open checkbook saying, we're not messing around, right? We're either going to win
yeah,
or we leave. So Trans Am 1 year leave, IMSA GTO 1 year leave. If you don't look, we're not going to stick around to lose because of the rules. You told the
yeah,
Quattros out of the A4s in touring car again, they leave. Um, so like I want to see them win, and it certainly seems like they have the serious personnel, and we'll see if the engine's right. But like
mhm,
I do wonder if in a post Piech era, if the Volkswagen Group has or Audi have the commitment to really blank check it and go in and like that's one of the reasons Audi dominated in the years that
yeah.
it did because Piech was so motivated to like simply make it happen.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. And I think a great example of that is over on the Porsche side. Part of the reason that Porsche currently at the highest level is so successful is because they teamed up with Penske. Um,
Right.
and then, but it's clearly not a blank check anymore because they're not running Le Mans. They backed out of WEC,
Right.
citing global whatever they, which is crazy that they're not at Le Mans with that car. Um, and I mean, of course they're going to go back, but it's just a matter of when. And then, so
But well, the other thing on that one, I think, correct me if you know better, because I'm not like you, I'm not an expert at all this stuff. I can be nerdy about some of it, but only
right.
in my lane. Um, the Porsche 963 is one of those Daytona prototypes, right? Like the HPD,
Yeah, it's LMDH.
the LMDH. That's it.
Yeah. So I
So,
mean the
so it's a
LMs have
multimatic chassis, set hybrid formula,
yes.
Porsche engine, and that like those were lower cost. Audi was going to jump in on that too with the Multimatic deal, but
Yeah.
then the most dominant cars over in Le Mans are like Ferrari, which is built to Le Mans hypercar standard. It almost seems like Le Mans might favor a little bit the
Mm.
hypercars over, but they're much more open checkbook sort of
Yeah.
builds than the LMDH.
Yeah, I don't know the full details of that, but I believe you're right. And I know there's also they cite some, global sales headwinds, but also some of the
Yeah, yeah,
regulations as well, of course. Um, Yeah, and because yes, the LMDH cars, it's all the same backbone that you get from the suppliers, and there's more than one. It's not just Multimatic. I think Orica might do one as
Yeah, there's
well.
like I forget how many chassis
I think
manufacturers are.
it's
That's
four.
automatic, but the
Yeah.
hybrid system is everybody's using the same one in
Yes, but
LMDH.
but you choose the ICE component you supply,
Right.
but
Yeah.
then it's Bosch and Williams for the electronics, and And that's why Aston Martin can compete in the prototype class at Daytona, but they're running a V12 non-hybrid, and it's like they were so far off the pace, it was crazy.
Oh, really?
And every time into turn one, it sounded like the car was just like ripping itself apart from the gearbox noise, which was probably a combination of brutal gearbox and V12 shriek. Whereas like these LMDH cars, which all run the same X-Track 7-speed sequential, just sounded
Right.
effortlessly smooth breaking into turn one. And the Aston
That's
Martin car was like, it's not braking, but it sounds like it's braking.
that's funny.
Yeah.
I wonder why they would do that. Like that's so I think everything in prototype now is hybrid, isn't it? Even hypercar. Like
Um,
I'd have to
I
imagine they'd
don't know. I don't know. This would be like a good like to get Fred Smith and Road Track or Bradley
yeah,
Brownell on
yeah.
here.
Not my expertise either.
No, it and because there are other cars in the class that compete at Le Mans that could come and compete at Daytona, but just don't. Like Toyota, I guess, could compete in that class, and um, so I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, of the LMDH cars that were at Daytona, all were on the lead lap at the end of 24 hours, which is just
nuts.
fascinating to me. Yeah.
Well, okay. So you're saying about at Formula One, like I agree. There've been years, and kind of like Audi, there've been years where manufacturer dominates, and that really runs up the championship counts, right? For like
Mhm.
Lewis or whomever. Um, but I guess this past year it was quite close. I mean, McLaren starts strong, but otherwise, kind of the after the front half of the season, it's very, very tight, and they're seconds off of each other. Like the seconds between the leader and the last car.
Yeah.
So it seems like the balance of performance is they don't have a balance of performance. I don't think Formula One does, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah.
the balance is pretty close. Like it
Yeah.
comes down to you know
Yeah, I mean, definitely driver skill, but then you see some cars where they're where they are allowed to make changes in some of the aero based elements, and it's because the car
right.
is so fine tuned technically. Like if you just have a little bit more wind resistance here, you're screwed.
Yeah, and I think that again, I am way outside of my league. I'm punching outside of my depth on this, so like I could be getting something wrong. But I think, as I understand it, McLaren was very good at maintaining their tires. So
Mm,
maybe something aerodynamically going on with them, but something about their capacity to make the tires work
okay.
longer was something I'd heard. And then you look at the aero improvements for Sauber, which was Audi last season, right? Like
Mhm.
they start like a back marker at the beginning of the season, and then you get to midseason when they actually implement the improvements to I think it was a lot of their floor and some other things, and now all of a sudden
Mhm.
they're like a solid midfield
Yeah.
contender. It's crazy how much like little changes can really put them
It'll
in contention.
it'll be, and I wonder if we'll be able to determine how good the car is based on their current drivers. Because
Yeah.
like, what if we're like, oh, they're only doing okay, and what if it's because Nico's getting old and Bortoleto doesn't have the skills yet? Like so those are definitely big time question marks. Like Audi could nail the technical side of it.
Right,
There's a chance we wouldn't know that they did unless you let Lando have a go in the car or Max or blah blah blah. Someone.
right.
So who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious with Bortoleto, especially like Nico clearly seems he still has the skills and hasn't, you don't really see a drop off yet in his pace. But with Bortoleto, it's he seems to be, from what I can tell, a total addict to the simulator, and he does eat like Max. In fact, the two of them go on the simulator a lot together, even when they're not. I caught this great podcast after I think Brazil, where the two of it's like a 2 hour long podcast. The two of them with Christian Fittipaldi was one of
Right.
the guys running the podcast. But anyway, the what I learned from that, right, is one of the like Max is like a machine. He's constantly in the simulator, learning the tracks, learning
Right.
the nuance of where and when he can take people to weigh. A lot of the other drivers don't really spend that time in the simulator learning that, and Bortoleto seems to have the same commitment to it, and the two of them especially are doing a lot more of that together now.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how quickly he ramps up from being a noob to pretty seasoned.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting for sure. The whole thing will be interesting. Like I
Yeah,
said, this is the first season in years where I'm like, I'm actually genuinely curious how this is going to go for a lot of teams. I wish Cadillac was supplying their own engine just because that'd be badass. Um, because part of it would be they'd be like, we have to make this sound good. And
Right.
in those spy videos, the Audi actually does sound good, so this new
Yeah.
engine could sound good. I'm very excited to see what Cadillac does, but with Ferrari engine, who knows? It's not as exciting that because Cadillacs isn't a works team. Um,
Right.
and I'm
Although,
sure they
although
all
arguably
want to be. What's that?
McLaren, what they're Mercedes, I think, right? I
Yeah,
forget.
because Aston Martin uses Honda. McLaren technically, yeah, might use Mercedes, which that feels
McLaren is a customer
close.
team.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I feel like any one of them wants to be a works team, but the cost to do so must be tremendous. Like,
Yeah.
so Audi must be spending a good chunk to start this, but taking over Sauber's facilities definitely helps take the sting out a little bit, I guess.
I guess.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they have to go in and clean everything up and be like, well,
Well, okay, again, I'm treading close to not at my full depth, but from what I've read about it, it sounds like they actually got some relief for being sour because having facilities in Switzerland, one, it's I guess more costly than having them in the UK, and they have opened a facility in the UK.
mhm.
But it seems like if you look at, again, I read this a long time ago, but if you look at like the dominating or the dominant players in F1, they almost all come from what is it, Milton Keynes? Like they're almost all headquartered in England. And so if you're not headquartered in England, there's something, I don't know, there's something in the water, but there's certainly something in the job pool there that like allows or the staff pool, right, to give those teams an advantage, it would seem.
Yeah, and Audi's UK tech center is near like Polestar's headquarters and in Bicester. I don't know the correct way to
Yeah.
pronounce. I don't know what the Brits do, but then they're building the engines in Bavaria.
Yeah.
Um,
And the team's still in Switzerland.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy to have that all spread out. And that was one of the questions people ask Wheatley, and he's like, "Well, it's actually great now because because of COVID, maybe we wouldn't have done this before, and we would have had to find a way to do this. But now we can do this, and everybody's very comfortable working that way as a team. It's not an issue, and I mean, I believe that statement because I get it. That's how a lot of teams are these days for in across not just motorsport, anything. It was cool to see the car. It was cool they did the event in Germany. They're obviously very proud of it. It was a very stylish influencer filled event with some
Looked like it.
very funny photographs happening by some very nice, very pretty people. Um, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for sure. And then Nico was excited, but he gave some very funny, straightforward one-word Nico answers to certain questions.
Oh,
But then someone would ask some questions he felt like I didn't ask any questions because his answers to some of the questions where I was like, oh shit, I'm not getting made fun of here. But someone asked, you had success that one season with the 919. Does any of that translate? He goes, no, they're the different cars. He's like, they're different cars. I'm like,
totally.
all right, like
Yeah.
on the surface, it's a valid question.
Right.
Hybrid powertrain, motorsport, blah, blah, blah. But also, yeah, it's a completely different car. So yes, we get it.
Right. You do wonder that, right? Like if there's I think they've had Kurs, but this is like the first legit hybrid in Formula One now this year, right? So is there anything to Audi's run? Probably less than Porsche and LMP because they had the flybrid most of the years they ran up to the
Mhm.
last, I think.
Yeah.
But then they had the hybrid in Dakar, right? They've run Formula E. So like you do wonder if like their energy recapturing, like how if they have any sort of software advantage
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
understanding the physics.
And they're gonna I'm surprised. I wonder what the ruling on this is. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't like an e-tron badging on the F1 car, just so they can, market that to their road cars somehow. Like, oh,
Yeah.
very, because like someone like Mercedes talks about how the technology they've learned translates to cars with their plug-in hybrid setups, even though everybody dumped on the C63, uh, which has F1 derived technology. I didn't. I thought that was actually an amazing machine, but I also get everybody's complaints. So
Right.
I'm wondering if we're going to see a rollout though, where they tie some of what they're doing on the electric side as it relates to their F1 car Like, will it get an RS badge at some point? That'd be kind of badass.
It would. I'm curious on a couple things from a nerd standpoint. The one is I do wonder if they're de-emphasizing the e-tron name or maybe just limiting it to fully electric
Mm.
vehicles. Um, it doesn't translate well in French Canadian. I don't know if you've ever.
Okay.
But more importantly, they do seem to limit that to fully electric cars. And what I guess I have noticed, which is interesting, is they don't badge or they don't brand any of the F1 effort Audi Sport.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
like Audi Sport was all over anything motorsport until
Right.
what, like the mid to late teens, at which time they added to the road cars as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like BMW M GmbH, and then yeah. So I'm curious how that goes. And then I don't know if you saw Cocker, or sorry, not Cocker. Greg Cable did a piece in Autocar this week talking about the high. I guess RS6 is definitely V8 hybrid,
Oh, okay.
and RS5 is definitely V6 hybrid. And the deal with that is Audi Sport wanted to really lean into using the hybrid drive system to do torque vectoring in a way they haven't really been able to do it so far, even in the
Mm.
RS3. But like so RS3, which is mainly software driven for that for the I guess the Haldex and the rear diff,
Mm.
but electric being so much more immediate in delivery
Right. Yeah.
that the car can definitely have much more of a rear bias if they want, and so it's going to be heavier, but it's also going to have higher capability for adjusting driving dynamic. And so I am curious how they play that into the hybrid of the F1, and then also if they move those colors and such into like the branding. You know what I mean? Like the Audi
Yeah.
Sport branding on the car.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know.
And when I was there, we were told like, Audi US was say only they were kind of invited along, I'm sure, because this was an Audi F1 program. So that's it. That's the team is Audi F1, and maybe that's going to be the distinction between Audi Sport and Audi F1 is a whole different animal.
It's definitely. I wonder too if part of it is that push for simplicity, right? Let's just keep it
Yeah.
like Massimo seems to like everything very streamlined and very focused.
But yeah, I know, but it would be cool though if it just from like the pure, Audi geekery of it all to see little RS badge on there, or some just something. I know it's nothing related at all to a road
Yeah,
car at all, but there is a way, like Mercedes did, to say this is F1 derived. Like you can say stuff like the way this turbo spools up electrically, like
I'm
little
sure.
things like that. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more of that, especially with the hybridized RS cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little weird that they didn't put the Audi Sport then on the car, but
Hmm.
the race car rather.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like, if you used to go through, like, leave this sticker on, like, on my, like, if you go and do the colors on the car in some capacity, the badge or whatever else, I'm sure people would be vibing with that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it won't hurt sales. Cadillac will do it with
There'll be a
V
V
stuff.
badge on
Yeah,
that car somewhere,
right,
which would be honestly cool. I mean, we keep circling back to it that it's just going to be such a unique season. Anytime they reset the regulations, interesting stuff can happen, and hopefully we don't just see one team figure it all out. Hopefully we see, a bunch of teams do, and hopefully
right.
it leads to great racing. But
So
part
the
of it is
interesting,
track limited too, honestly, where they race these cars these days.
yeah,
So
especially when you look at like Monaco and
yeah, yeah, Monaco, yeah, absolutely.
right. Well, the smaller cars might actually favor not. I mean, not. It's going to make Monaco great, but it's definitely going to be easier than the larger cars before.
Yeah.
I just
Um,
remember walking through. It's hard to get a scale for the cars, and I've never been to an F1 race in person. But I remember last year at Monterey, AMG had like this big. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Had this big, well, they like every year, like they have the big AMG structure at the top of the hill by
mhm,
at Pebble Beach.
mhm.
And when you walk through there, I think it was in 24, they had like, they may have last year too, I didn't go, but they had one of the F1 cars there.
Oh wow.
And then so you see it in scale of like the other cars, and it's
Yeah.
such a huge long thing. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy crazy long. I don't know.
And this one didn't feel as crazy when I stood
No,
next to it. I literally have a picture of me standing on stage next to it, and some of the comments were like, "Is it the same size as a Suburban still?" And I'm like, "No, I mean it looked like a much more normal race. Well, as far as F1 cars,
sure.
it looked much more normal. I know it's shorter, it's and the wheelbase is shorter too, obviously. So it'll be, I mean, it might be trickier to drive for these guys, but they're
Right.
robots anyway, so maybe not."
Yeah. So the other thing on this is like, I guess engine, right? Like Audi is the only one. They have no customers yet, right? So nobody else is running the Audi engine, just them.
Hmm.
And so I guess like Honda in the what's Honda in Aston Martin
Aston
and
Martin, yeah.
Ford in the Red Bulls. I don't think
Yep.
anybody else is using. I guess Racing Bulls or whatever.
Yeah.
But like largely those are the three teams where like if they got the engine wrong, like
Yeah,
they're
that's
they're out
true.
of contention.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I guess my only other question about the event is more. It seemed obvious. Again, I guess this is obvious with these events. It seemed very corporate, like with the Revolut cards and the Adidas display and whatever else. Anything else to catch your eye there?
Yeah, the four cars downstairs.
Right.
The auto union, the rally car, the DTM car, and then I think was it an R18 or whatever.
R18, yeah.
Yeah, those were amazing. My favorite of those four being the rally car. As
Yeah.
amazing as the prototype is, and as badass as the DTM car, and then as iconically classic as that auto union car is, that rally car, that to me, that's Audi right there.
Do you think there's something to? I was thinking about this too. Like the A, what really when I started getting into it was the A4 B5 touring car era, but it's kind of like the rally cars. It's a normal car, right? Like it's something
Yeah.
that I feel like I could buy in a dealership, and there's a little bit of a somebody going out and winning a race and something that looks like my car is a little bit more of a relatable
Or
thing.
like, or like this, it
Yeah.
looks like a real car.
All right, LMP, or sorry, all
Yeah.
right, GT3.
Yeah. And then, yes, very much. So that rally car has vibes related to the road car. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
not the same.
it's not, but
It's not the same. But to me, that just speaks of the era that I think most people who are motorsports fans without being diehard Audi fans go,
right.
"Oh, hell yeah." Because then diehards like you would be like, well, what about the IMSA GTO? And you start to
Yeah,
get into
sure.
that Han
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And then other people will be like, Tom Christensen and his era, Mr. Lamar. But for me personally, at least, it's the rally stuff. Absolutely, that speaks to me for Audi Motorsport. Um, Fully understanding all the other stuff too. That car, like my inner child and my current elderly adult, were all geeking out at the same time.
yeah. That's the tough part is like credibly adding that in. They certainly seem to, and they're leaning in on their previous dominance. I hope it kind of carries forward.
And I was selfishly hoping that the Hoonitron would be there so I could be like, oh, you know what it's like to so I could brag in front of
So
people.
did you drive? Well, okay, I mean for people who aren't, I was going to get into you a little bit more anyway, and I probably shouldn't have rolled right into the F1. So we'll come
That's all
back to
right.
that. But one of the last times you and I worked in the same place at the same time was the Hoonitron at Willow Springs,
Yeah.
and you and Johnny had it Saturday.
Yep.
Did you drive it?
I drove it twice.
Did you?
This is some of the results of that day. For those not watching on video, this is a cord from one of the tires. Yeah, I drove it. I was fortunate to drive it twice because Johnny and I each got a stint in it, and Dindo Capello, their,
Right.
amazing driver, he was driving it as well. And it went up against an RS e-tron GT, laughably so, but it was still fun. And that car can drift better than you would think too.
The RSE Trend GT.
Yeah, oh yeah, that thing can get tail happy if you wanted to. So the the Hoonitron was crazy. Did you drive it or you just get to shoot it?
I got to ride shotgun in it. I didn't get
Okay,
to drive it.
so you sit in it and you're like, oh my God, it's not even carbon fiber, it's Kevlar everywhere. And your
Right.
seating position's real low. And it's funny, the German engineers were like, all right, there's 5 maps, start in one, work your way up. As soon as they shut the door, Dindo goes, put it in five.
I love to know he's great.
Yeah, Dindo rules.
Yeah.
Basically owns half of Italy these days.
Yeah.
Super awesome dude. He was throwing 360s in the car, but it's for those of you who haven't drifted high horsepower EVs, it's so different than typical, like this Mustang behind me. Like you just throttle on, oversteer, you can, control these, blah, 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 blah. That car, Dindo's like, you just point the steering wheel where you want it to go, and the power will pull it in that direction. And so you start to throw it like you want to do an oversteer thing, and you'll either spin or you won't do what it's driving that car was far more difficult, but also far more amazing than I would have even guessed. And it gives you even more respect for what Ken was able to do. And there's one
Right.
button that Johnny and I regret not pressing, was they're like, don't press this button, but we still regret not pressing. We didn't press it, and we wished we had. It was the button to like reverse I don't know, the polarity or whatever of the motors to send it into reverse right away,
Oh, cool.
which was a button Ken had them add.
Right.
We didn't press that one because we were like, we could really fuck something up on this car if we do that.
Yeah.
But so we each shot our segment, and then I was like, just kind of like almost wistful, be like, damn, I wish I had more time with the car. And we worked out a segment, and Johnny, thank you to his credit, he worked out something within the show where we're joking. He was like, your time wasn't that far off Dindo's. I think you could get him. And I'm like, yeah, you think so? And I like ran over to the car, and he like pretended to time me, and I drove off. And then he turns to the camera, he's like, well, thanks for watching the show, like kind of like a throwaway. But I did get
Right.
to go like another go as he was talking.
Nice.
The joke was like, oh, I wasn't even really timing you.
Yeah.
But I got two
What?
shots at it. So
Well, that's two more shots than most of us have had. So I'm very jealous, but also thanks for sharing that. I am curious. I don't know if you had any, if you're in it enough to really get this. I remember I chatted with Brian Scotto right around. Unfortunately, didn't record it, but
Mhm.
it was right as Ken was. I think they'd just gotten back from filming in Mexico.
Mhm.
And one of the things it was because the way the launch schedule they'd done, Vegas had been dropped as a like revealed, and right after that they filmed Mexico. So like, so we were kind of chatting with knowing like what everybody had seen in Vegas, and
Mhm.
then kind of where they'd gone and evolved the car. And I think he said that was one of the hardest parts was when they got like he hadn't really had a whole lot of time in the car in Vegas, and so when they kind of like what they found was it had all these new capabilities that they had never been able to do before, but at the same time, the instant on power and if you watch, there's one scene where he goes, I think it's where he spins under the arch. The wheel speed goes from like 0 to over 100 miles per hour, literally in like faster than the digital readout can really,
Yeah.
which is I'm sure why Brian included the shot. And he said they had to they had to build in stepped torque because the car reacted so fast. There were just certain moves or tricks that Ken would normally go to that they just couldn't go to.
Yeah.
Like it was certainly accessible in the rally car where you have to build torque, but in that thing it was impossible because it just
Yeah.
came so quickly.
The progressive nature of those other cars that was gone, so we couldn't do those. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's almost lends itself to similar what I was talking about, where Dindo is like just point it and tell it where you want it to go, rather than trying to finesse it into a drift
Right.
slide. And once you kind of realize that, then you're on and off the throttle. You're also trying to play with the handbrake a little bit to try to do that. And the only thing even remotely similar to that I'd experienced before that, and I say remotely, it's not the same, but it's probably the closest you could get, is I drove Superformance is like 5 minutes from my house, and they did a Shelby Cobra, but with Tesla Plaid motor in the back. And so it's like they detuned it as far as they could before they'd have to like break open the computer and figure out more shit. And it was like down to like 1,500 pound-feet of torque in a Cobra body. So it has a speedometer and then a digital display with wheel speed. So similar thing. I just rolled into a burnout on it. And it was like I was going 30, 40 miles per hour, and the wheel speed was like 180 or something, like terrifying, where
Yeah.
it's one of those few cars where if you do a brake stand or a burnout in a gas car, when you want that action to stop, you just hit the brakes. This had some kind of like secondary rotation to the drivetrain where like I almost hit the camera car in front of me because it moved more than because the wheels were just still spinning and you couldn't bring them
I
down as quick.
I wonder if there's like if the motor I'm not a physicist, nor do I understand nor do I understand drivetrain dynamics of an electric car to that level. But I almost wonder if you go from like 180 wheel speed to like off throttle, if the motor, there's a danger of anything eating itself,
Right.
right? That they almost have to keep some overrun in it just so it
Yeah,
doesn't go to nothing immediately.
probably, maybe. And
Or that could
or
lock up the
maybe
rear wheels, which would also
or
be dicey at
very
speeds.
bad in a Cobra, yeah.
Yeah,
And they and it's also performance built it, not Audi. So like who it could be a little bit of
right.
that too. And the thing was awesome, but it was also like terrifying. Whereas Hoonitron was terrifying, but not like this Cobra. And the Cobra was fun. It was just also like they were like, if we sell this package to customers, we probably wouldn't use a plaid motor. We'd use like a Mach E motor, which would have
Right.
way less power, but still have tons of power.
And rear wheel drive too, I think makes so. I mean, the Audi's messing with, like kind of got two of the Formula E motor units, one at each axle in
Mhm.
the Hoonitron,
Yep.
but it's still all wheel drive. So there's probably some level of control as you
Yeah.
do that. That's
And
not
I think when you pull the handbrake, I think it cuts like it just kind of cuts power to the rear motor,
okay.
or it's something like it's almost how you clutch in on a drift car when you grab your
Yeah,
brake. I believe it's something similar like that.
I don't
It
know.
was
Cool
awesome.
stuff.
I still think
Yeah,
about it. It was awesome. And it was years ago now.
it was. It was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting old quick.
Dude, time flies. Well, can we dig into you a little bit? You got time?
Absolutely. Sure.
So you start with, or why don't you tell me where you started? But I think it was Hooniverse.
So technically, even further than that, I started on the business side at nadaguides.com. They decided to launch a blog. They're like, you like cars? Why don't, here's a camera, learn how to write, learn how to take photos.
Huh.
I kind of did that, met the contacts in the industry, made some mutual friends who we all read Jalopnik and like peak Jalopnik. And then we didn't like the direction where it was headed. So me and a buddy decided to start Hooniverse. And then overnight we had a good readership because a bunch of other people kind of felt the same way at the time. And then Hooniverse, has had its ups and downs. It's never really grown to the heights it should have, at least in my head. But turned into a career for me where I've worked for a lot of different outlets across the industry, and I am now at Motor1, which is great. Very happy to be here, just doing fun stuff. And I've had some shows on Motor Trend, head to head, drag race, shift talkers, and an episode of this show that I thought was a great idea, but was very expensive for them to produce. And I don't know if anybody watched it, called Super Turbo Story Time, where it was like each episode were different hosts. So you'd sit down and you'd take turns telling an automotive story, but then that story was animated by the folks who do like the Venture Brothers and Metalocalypse. Like, so the animation was awesome and super fun.
Was that where it got expensive?
Oh, I would have to imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had some decent uh, hosts for each episode. Like my episode was myself and Jared Deanda, which was a lot of fun. I love Jared. But then they also had one where it was like BC from BC Motors and Exhibit.
That's a pair.
Johnny was on there, obviously. Kristen Lee. There was there was a handful of people on there, like some other actual celebrities. I think were on some episodes. Um, yeah,
Who
that
produced
one's really
that?
fun. What's that?
Who was running that show?
That was a Motor
Was
Trend
it Motor
show.
Trend?
Yeah, yeah. So it's on their HBO Max or whatever the hell it's called these days.
Right.
You can find it on there somewhere.
Yeah, what a shame. It seemed like, I don't know, the whole media landscape is so messed up.
Yeah, it is
Or
very
I don't
much
know,
so.
messed up, but like the foundation has been so rocked that on one hand I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity for folks, but on the same time it's a shame to see these sort of empires that have been built kind of get broken up or fall out of the spotlight.
Yeah, it is tough and interesting out there because at the end, like I don't want to blame everything on private equity, but the advertising though, it's not just that. It's the access to the industry opened up a little bit, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it did allow the floodgates to open for content creators. I know we all
Right.
hate that word, but that's what it is, of all types, be it from YouTube, much less it's not really blogs anymore. It started, you can go even further back to forum days, but then forums
Right.
became blogs, and then YouTube came along, and then now it's Instagram and TikTok, and then I mean, who knows what's after that? 5 second sound
Yeah.
bites as we lose our attention spans.
No, it's crazy, dude. Like that morning when I was out there, we were out there. doing the Hoonitron at Willow Springs, there was a TikToker who showed up, and he really didn't need much time, which is like on one hand, I was a little bit jealous. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, man, it's that quick.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it's the medium, right? You can't really go in depth,
No,
and I guess that's what I feel like is a little bit lost, is that like really digging into something. One of the reasons I'm enjoying the podcast format so much because it's one of the few digital products that people will give time to, probably because they're
that's
captive in
true.
their car or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Um, and I do think there will be a little bit of a longing for a return to some level of longer format stuff. I mean, I could be wrong there. I know Rory Carroll is trying to do some really cool stuff at Alloy Motors,
Yeah,
not necessarily long form, but just like stuff nobody else is doing, especially
right.
design wise. So I hope that succeeds. But there has to be some room for some of this stuff. I mean, but it can't survive unless people are paying the bills to keep the lights on. So
Yeah, that's the trick, right? Like the challenge is like in my day. Look at me being the old man. There's more and more gray hair of what hair I have left. So I guess I'm resemble that remark. But like, I guess where I'm going with that is when we had forums, we had the page inventory and we had the patience or we had the demand for manufacturers to buy ad space on those platforms. And nowadays, so much of that went to like Google. Uh,
discover.
yeah. And then beyond that, like the or AdSense, and then beyond that, it goes to Facebook and the problem is twofold. One is the consumers largely, even myself and my consumption, I'm a little bit lazy hanging, like I'll look for it on the platforms I'm on and I might click through.
Yeah.
Um, and so getting the time or the eyeballs simply isn't really there for so I'm curious how Alloy does because
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying the same thing with my Audi site, but at the same time, if you're not you can't make a volume argument anymore, and I unfortunately I think more and more advertisers and or PRs want volume only, and so if we're looking at volume, how you win against like it what's how do you measure the value of a TikToker or an Instagrammer who has like 3 4 million fans, but people are like at this depth and they may or may not care about like we're talking about Audi here, right? Like they
Right.
may or may not care about Audi, or they might for a second,
Yeah.
or versus people who are like drilled in, like working with Audi Club for years, like that, their owners, they've only got 10,000 members, but their owners are repeat buyers dialed in. It's kind of two different customers and kind of like selling the R8 versus the Q5 in their product portfolio, right? You're only going to get so much volume on the R8, but it serves a very different purpose in the line than does the volume car. And I don't know, man. I feel like volume and page count or follower count now is the easy button. Like just what's your follower
Yeah.
count? Oh, it's not above that amount. Sorry, we're not interested.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I mean, I definitely see that being part of it for sure. Um, and I don't have a good response
Yeah,
or
I don't
answer to
either.
it, to be honest. It, it's you kind of just got to keep plugging along and see what works and I mean, I don't know where we're going next.
Yeah, if we knew it would be
Every time you think you have something like, oh, we'll do this. These people are gonna um these people are gonna be doing this. Somebody's gonna be doing this. This new they're trying some new content creation things specifically for auto in the automotive space with that driven that Amelia Hartford and Tanner Faust are doing. Um, but it just feels like Drive Tribe 2.0 to me. And then like
right.
at the end of the day, everybody right now just seems to end up back on YouTube anyway.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you're of a certain age,
Yeah.
Facebook seems to be becoming more and
TikTok,
more of a ghost
huge
town.
no dives. TikTok just took a huge nosedive though.
Did it?
They just lost like some huge percentage of subscribers with the new rule changes they just did.
I wonder how that affects or where those people go. Like I'm sure
Mm.
Instagram will win and YouTube maybe.
Yeah, 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 I think so. Because I noticed myself, I've reduced my Instagram usage because I knew I was on it too much, and
Same.
but then I found out I just wound up scrolling YouTube Shorts, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I just replaced one with the other. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and it's all crazy right now. if I scroll, it's all like this person hates this person. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah, it's not great.
get me away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a long way from Formula One. But back to the volume thing. All right, I'll segue this and then whatever. But like, I remember back in the day when I was covering Audi at Le Mans. So like, my last year was 2015, and round about that year, I think it was the year that Nico won Le Mans and with Porsche. Audi and Porsche both have top tier LMP1 programs. Volkswagen isn't just in the WRC, but they won the championship. Skoda is in a lesser class than the WRC. Um, TCR is
Oh, yeah,
Volkswagen,
PCR.
Seat, Audi.
Yeah.
GT3 is Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche. This is all Volkswagen Group.
Right.
Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche, Bentley,
Hmm.
and Formula E programs, whatever else was going on at that time. And somebody did a study. I at least I heard this internally, so I'm secondhand information now. It's years ago, but I think they did a media analysis, like for how the Volkswagen Group had fared with its motorsport exposure versus Mercedes, who had won the championship that year in Formula One. And Mercedes, with just that one program, got more eyeballs than the entirety of the Volkswagen Group motorsport portfolio.
Jeez.
Right. So like
That's
Formula
crazy.
One has been this windmill for Volkswagen Group Don Quixote to chase for years. And like whether it was Porsche or Audi or both, you knew someone would end up there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad it was Audi, but at the end of the day, maybe I'm not. Like I'd almost rather Audi be at Le Mans, but for Audi's sake, they could certainly use the exposure now, and there definitely seems to be like watching the media presence for the brand since the F1 team has launched, particularly, um, like the amount of people talking about the brand, they can certainly use that added shot in the arm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just hope it's not like NASCAR in like the early 2000s, right? When I said, I think it was like I caught a press release that like Pottery Barn Kids had worked out a deal with Formula One, so like now you can get Formula One,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
duvet cover for your bed, or Formula One signs for your kids. I kind of wanted one of the signs, even though it was PBK. But
Right.
like where I'm going with that is like when you see Pottery Barn Kids doing the tie-in or like Pepsi, then you're like, all right, are we at 2000s NASCAR era yet?
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the obvious effect that Drive to Survive has had on F1. And now other sports are probably going to try to mimic that. I think MotoGP has a series coming out, if it already
I
came
think
out.
NASCAR did one too on Netflix.
Golf did one. Yeah,
Yeah.
NASCAR did one. Um, any series could do one and create the drama, but it's funny the effect that has had on
Dude, I'll tell you. Do you remember Truth in 24?
yeah,
I think that ahead of its time, I suppose, but I think
yeah,
that kind of bringing you in and dialing you into the human story that's going on there, right? Audi
yeah,
of America funded that, and they worked with NFL Films and created those two documentaries around Le Mans because nobody in America cared about Le Mans at the time.
right.
And kind of similarly, Drive to Survive happens, and you get into the characters, and of course, Formula One's backdrop is so crazy cool, right? There's so much money being thrown around, and everybody is good looking and whatever else, right? Like
Mhm.
it works very well to that. But I do wonder even that, like I was wondering this years ago when like Audi bought Sauber, was like, are people going to still care about Drive to Survive by 2026 when they finally hit the grid, or really 2027 because that's the first time you're going to see an Audi in Drive to Survive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
So I mean, I don't know if Drive to Survive is the thing it was the first season. It definitely still seems to be relevant, and Netflix is kind of a dominant player. But yeah, I don't know.
I watched I think half of the first season and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah,
It wasn't
my
for me.
my daughter, somehow they got her on Instagram. So
Mm,
like she's high school age at this point, and she kind of got into it. And so that Audi was getting into Formula One. She and I have both like we'll kind of watch the races and watch Drive to Survive together.
sure.
Yeah, so that's neat. Where like nobody cared about, when I was going to Le Mans, nobody cared. Of course, they were
Yeah.
littles too, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter, when she's like, aren't you? I was calling her from Daytona this past week. She's like, "Are you racing?" I'm like, "No, I'm not racing." She's like, "Oh, I thought
right,
you were racing." I'm like, No, that daddy's not racing here.
Right. Have you ever driven that track?
No, not, I mean,
No.
in iRacing, sure, but not, not in real
No, but
life.
not because I know a couple. I know. I'm sure other manufacturers. I know Audi did an event there once with like RS. They drove down there for the race and maybe they got some time on the. I know they hit
Sure.
the probably they did the road course, so the NASCAR 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That that part of the track they got to hit. But I mean, it's and Audi Club used to do an event down there too, but it looked like hardcore, like hard on the cars where you're going through tires pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
That transition up the banking must be intense on the cars. I did
Right.
the only banked road course I've done, I think is it Charlotte Motor Speedway? I don't know. One of the ones I think in North Carolina I drove on and it was super fun, but it's also
Yeah.
the first time you hit it, you're like, oh yeah, this is different.
Yeah. I think I did Vegas years ago. The S60R Volvo launch
Oh,
was
cool.
there.
Yeah, hell
And we
yeah.
did a little bit of the banking, not a whole
Okay.
lot of it. But yeah, it's a different thing for sure.
It's fun.
Yeah, man. Were you are you planning on getting to any of the races or getting more into F1 now that you did
Um,
this?
yes, for this season, yes, I'm going to watch more of it. Like I said, I just want to see how it goes and how these engine regulations shake out and go from there.
You going to will you be working any races?
None, I haven't heard any yet, but hopefully I get an invite to one of these things, so we'll see.
Have you gone to any in the past?
No, never been. I've never been to an
Yeah, same.
F1 race.
That's why I'm curious. I got tickets for my family. We're gonna go as tourists and hit the Canadian GP.
Nice.
But like there is part of me that's like, should I call the PR department and see about maybe trying to work while I'm there? And I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how hard it is. I know I've been around the dog and pony show that is getting credentialed at Le Mans, so
Right.
it's probably it may be worse, but that wasn't particularly easy.
No, that's I think you'd probably get hooked up, but um I've also I'm not going to say what it costs, but I've heard the cost to host media at these,
Oh,
and even for someone who's in the series, the
right,
number like I'm almost like, oh my God, I'm not worth that much. Bring
right.
bring other people. Holy
But would you
crap!
ever? Yeah, I mean, if you knew the numbers though for some of these long leads and stuff, or like,
No, I know for
right?
sure.
I'm curious how that pencils out, but whatever. At this point, I don't expect to be, invited to. I don't know any event Audi does. I'm certainly not at that size where I would be a player that I'd be surprised if I did. So that's why I was like, I had a buddy with a block up at the Canadian GP, and it's one of the more affordable North American
Yeah, I've heard
races
that.
to hit.
I heard it's awesome too.
Right. Yeah, he's right at the what is it? We'll catch them. He's shown me video of his seats. He gets them every year, but like there's like a part where you get them going and then you get them coming back towards you and you can see it all. So kind of visible 3-day passes, and it was I don't know about $600 a seat, which for 3 days is not terrible.
No, yeah. The number for Paddock Club passes per person is quite different,
Yeah.
especially at the American races, which I've heard are some of the most expensive ones,
Yeah,
interestingly.
Miami and Vegas. I mean, I would bet probably Coda might be
I've heard
more
it's
affordable.
expensive, but yeah, Miami and Vegas are insane. But of those three, I've heard Coda's the best one to attend anyway, of
Yeah,
those three specifically.
right, right.
I know
That's fun
I've
track.
spoke to a few people who went to Mexico this past season and said it's an awesome place to watch the race. Um, and then if you're gonna do it, I mean, just to see the heritage side of it, Monaco would be pretty badass just to say you saw it in Monaco.
Definitely want to. I haven't done Indy. They say that's the Triple Crown, right? You got to do those three: Le Mans, Indy, and Monaco.
Oh, okay.
Those are the three races to see.
I've done the Indy 500 once, and I went in with no expectations, and it was incredible.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It's such a crush of humanity. It's so many people, and then I was fortunate because I was on like a Valvoline sponsored trip. I was walking around with Al Unser Jr., and it's like walking
Sweet.
around with the Beatles. People were
Right.
losing their mind. He was so cool. He got us into areas we weren't even supposed to be allowed.
So great.
They're like, he's like, no, guys, they're with me. And they're like, okay, Mr. Hunter Jr. And we just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the right way to do it, and the racing was awesome. And towards the end, we walked down towards the pits to watch the finish of the race at the pits because we had the access. And we happened to stop without thinking right at Takumi Sato's pit, and it was the year he won the first one.
That's rad.
Yeah, it was cool.
I feel like race car driver fame is pretty great fame because I ran into even the year they won. I ran into two separate years, Dindo Capello and Tom Christensen at Charles de Gaulle
Mm,
on the way out, like after the
nice.
race.
Yeah.
And in both cases, like even TK, walking around, standing at Starbucks, nobody knows who they are at
No.
Charles de Gaulle. But when you get to the races, it's like,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
spotlights are on and game face. But being able to turn it off when you're not at the race, I would imagine, never been that famous, and I'm not so sure I want to be, but that seems like the way to do it. Where like if you want to be in the zone, you're in the zone. Otherwise, you're just a normal Joe.
Um, I saw at Daytona, I walked by him like 4 or 5 times, Kevin Magnuson, because he was driving. Every time people were like, nobody stopped to bother him, but you could see mouths open and faces turn,
Right.
which was kind of cool to see.
Remember the year I was at Daytona that Alonso came and raced for, I can't remember who, but Fernando came one year and like everywhere he went, it was a scrum. Like it's if his golf cart stopped somewhere, everybody was on it.
I actually, similar experience one year at Goodwood. I was in the Ford booth in the back talking with Ken Block.
Yeah.
And then this British PR handler was like, Mr. Block, we have to go to the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm going that way. Can I just walk with you guys? They're like, yeah, come on. And he had his race suit half tied down, an umbrella tied low, but like, he has that wild race suit and
Right.
losing their minds. It
Yeah.
was like trying to part the sea. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I knew he was famous, but holy shit.
Yeah, at a car venue. I wonder if he would, because if he was like famous in normal life too, just because the following for Gymkhana
I
gets so
felt like
crazy.
he was pretty recognizable because open face helmets and stuff like
Right.
that. Whereas like the Tom Christensen, that's if you don't know, you don't know. Uh,
Right.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you taking me inside the event. That's pretty rad that you got to go.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It was cool. And that TikToker who are you talking about at the Hoonitron thing was also at the event.
Was he?
Yeah. He's a really nice guy, Forrest.
I didn't want to like him that day because like he showed up late and I was like, you
Yeah.
fucker, we could, but
Oh,
like
he's great.
he's a totally nice dude.
Yeah.
And like but amazing how quickly he can get his shit done. Like it's pretty rad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous about how quickly he can get his
Right.
skilled guy.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask one other thing. I saw you post on social media that you had some kind of Trabant museum or exhibition in
It's
Berlin.
in Berlin. Trabi World is a thing there with like all these Trabants. And then a little further up the road is the Trabant Museum. So they're like they're diagonally across from each other. And then like another 100 meters down the road is Checkpoint Charlie.
Oh
So
wow.
it's in this crazy part of Berlin. And if you go this other way, there's this horrible museum, and I mean horrible in the sense of what they show. It's actually a very important free museum that's right near part of the Berlin Wall that shows really serious photographs of what happened during that period of time. Like it's like similar to walking through the 9/11 memorial, like same somber mentality. And then yeah, around the corner is the Trabi Museum, Trabant World. So
And it looked like a half pipe too, maybe.
that was just in a random park in like some
Yeah,
art park with two, I think they were, I don't know if they were golfs or stuffed underneath it. And it was a metal half pipe, which seems difficult.
crazy.
I'm not much of a skateboarder, so I don't know. It feels like wood's better. Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. No, Berlin was neat. It was an interesting city. Cold, very cold. But um, it was a good event for sure.
First time in Berlin.
It was actually my second, but my first time was the first time I was ever in Europe, which was for a Volkswagen press
Yeah.
trip years
Right.
ago. But we flew into Berlin and then immediately drove from there to Wolfsburg the next day. So I didn't really get to experience Berlin.
Right.
But in Wolfsburg, I got to drive the XL1, so that was awesome.
That's rad.
Yeah.
I kind of, whenever I used to go over to the long leads, it was like, because they don't want you to be, falling asleep at the wheel. The first day is always, you land at like I don't know, 7, 9 a.m., something like that. And then they don't plan the first day. So like, but I always found if I went to sleep, it wrecked me. And so I always would find like what is cool in the area to do
Yeah.
and find that. So that's so great that you got to get out and see all of those
Yeah.
things.
We landed, thankfully we landed there on like Monday morning and we didn't have anything to do Monday except dinner. So like
Right.
I got in, I probably took a little bit of a nap. I definitely took a nap. I went for a walk, then we had dinner, and then I made sure I stayed up till, 10, 11 o'clock at night at reasonable
Right.
time. And then we didn't even have to do stuff the next day until like 12:30 or something. So I went and walked around a bit more. That's when I saw the Trabant World and all that.
Yeah.
You geek out on all the little cars that to them are nothing, but the stuff that we don't have. Like, oh, a Polo, like
Right. Yeah, they couldn't be more
dumb,
bored.
dumb
Yeah.
shit. Or when you see something that they shouldn't have that's from us, you're like, oh, cool. You're driving a Mustang over here. Like, okay. I mean, I guess
Right.
that's a global car now, but still. So yeah, it was those trips are tough. I just had to decline a trip. This is going to sound, here's some inside baseball. This is
Right.
from how entitled journalists can sound. I got invited to go to Scandinavia, and the best they could do was basic economy. I'm like, I don't think I can do it.
Right.
Like there's like a safety aspect on the other side. You're gonna have this jet lagged American land after
Totally.
14 hours of travel in a seat at 6'3", where I'm gonna be a whiny little maybe baby. So
Right. Yeah, and often the other side of that is you're like driving alongside a partner who may or may not appreciate how tired you are.
yeah. So I just politely I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm gonna pass on this one. Thank you.
Yeah.
I felt like a dummy, but whatever.
It's the weird world of journalism that like I don't think people get. And you sound like,
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm listening to like Farrah talking about his podcast, he has knowledge of like how it sounds, right? And
Yes.
like that's the same thing. Like usually, so inside baseball, and you know this, but like
Yeah.
probably people listening don't, is anytime often when you're flying, if they're flying you across the Atlantic, you generally get business class just so you can sleep and be kind of somewhat fresh when you get there. And
Mhm.
if you have to do coach, that's a lot more dicey, and that's why that happens. But even like, the more extreme location you go to, you're going to lose a day or more of travel time.
Yeah.
Like
LA
it,
to Helsinki is a lot of travel. And so I just like I it's not going to
yeah,
work. I'm 45, I'm tall.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
That's no
know I
bueno.
sound stupid to somebody listening, but yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, yeah. Tall is a thing too when you're stuck in. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with that. I'm 5'10", so kind of average sized, but
Yeah,
like no, I hear you. All right, man. Well, I certainly appreciate you making time and catching me up on it.
of course. Yeah. Happy to do it. Let me know if you ever need me to pop on for anything else.
Yeah. Thanks. I may hit you up on that.
The Four Rings, If You Know You Know podcast is part of the Weekly Driver podcast series. For more news and features about Audi, visit the Four Rings If You Know You Know website at oooiykyk.com. That's 4OOSIYKYK.com. There you can also subscribe to the Four Rings If You Know You Know Substack newsletter that will keep the latest Audi news and features coming straight to your inbox. Four Rings, If You Know You Know, is an independent production and not affiliated with the Audi brand. If you know, you know.